My name is Gail. The sting on my face still lingers, a searing reminder of the moment my father struck me. One moment, we were in my condo, locked in a heated standoff. The next, his hand connected with my cheek, hard enough to make my vision go white and the world around me tilt. I didn't see it coming. He didn't shout a warning. He just snapped the instant I said no. It all started when my parents, Arthur and Linda, showed up at my door with suitcases. I lived in a cozy condo in Seattle, a place I'd painstakingly built to be my haven. I was 32, a financial analyst, and I thrived on order and routine. After long days poring over numbers for clients, there was nothing I loved more than coming home to the quiet of my condo. That fateful night, autumn had already painted the city in warm hues. The air carried that crispness that smelled like burning leaves and change. I just brewed a cup of coffee and kicked off my heels when the doorbell rang in 3 quick, frantic chimes. I knew something was wrong. When I opened the door, my parents stood there, each with 2 suitcases, looking like lost travelers. Linda's eyes were wide and glassy, while Arthur's jaw was set tight. "We lost the house," Linda whispered, pulling me into a hug that felt forced. "Bad investments. We have nowhere to go." What could I do? I stepped aside and let them in. I told them they could stay for a few days. But the way Arthur exhaled, a long sigh of relief, made my stomach churn. From the start, things felt off. Linda immediately started rummaging through my kitchen cabinets, muttering about how I needed better cooking supplies as she rearranged everything I'd carefully organized. Arthur plopped down on my couch, remote in hand, flipping channels like he owned the place. I gently asked if they'd talk to a lawyer or the bank. Linda's smile froze. "Sweetheart, it's complicated," she said. Arthur wouldn't even look at me. "We're figuring it out." I recognized that tone, the one they used when they didn't want to tell the truth. But I wanted to believe them. I tried to push down the unease growing in my chest. As the days passed, the little things started to add up. Linda stacked her makeup and skincare products in my bathroom, and Arthur started tightening the screws on my cabinets, as if he was planning to stay for a long-term renovation. They kept saying "we" when talking about my condo, and Linda would smile at me and say, "It feels like home already." By the 3rd morning, the smell of Linda's pancakes filled my kitchen like an inescapable fog. She hummed softly, too softly, as if trying to recreate a long-gone family moment. Arthur sat at the counter, scrolling through his phone and commenting on the news as if this was his daily routine. I watched them quietly, my coffee cooling in my hands. "Have you two started looking at rentals?" I asked. "Or talked to anyone about what's next?" Linda froze for a moment, just long enough for me to notice. "It's only been a few days, honey."
"Give us time," she said.
Arthur didn't even look up. "You're rushing things." I stirred my coffee. "I'm not rushing. I'm just asking." Arthur finally met my eyes briefly, sharply, before looking away. "Drop it for now." That look in his eyes made me realize they were stalling. That afternoon, I stepped out onto my balcony and called my old college friend, Ryan. He was a lawyer in the city. If anyone could help me get to the bottom of this, it was him. "I need you to check something," I said. "My parents claim they lost their house." Ryan's voice softened. "Gail, are you okay?" "Not really. Just see what you can find." He promised he would. When I went back inside, Linda was reorganizing my pantry, stacking cans in neat rows. Arthur had taken over my sofa, shoes off, remote in hand, muttering about fixing the loose hinge on my hallway door. "Dad, that door is fine," I said, trying to stay calm. "Needs a man's touch," he replied. My grip tightened around my phone. That night, I lay awake, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of my parents breathing in my condo. Every instinct told me there was more to the story. The next day, Ryan called. I could tell from his tone before he even spoke. "Gail, your parents didn't lose their house. They sold it voluntarily." My heart dropped. "Sold? Why?" "There was a cash transfer. The buyer wired $950,000 straight into an account linked to a property under my brother Jake's name. Jake was the golden child of the family. He was charming, confident, and always seemed to get whatever he wanted. My parents adore him. They'd always said he was destined for great things, while I was the reliable, steady one who never needed much. I walked back inside, feeling like a stranger in my own home. Linda was at the kitchen table, sorting through her makeup, and Arthur was still working on the door. They looked so comfortable, too comfortable. "Gail," Linda asked, smiling softly. "You okay?" I stared at them, really stared, and saw the truth behind their lies. They hadn't come to me because they needed me. They'd come because they saw me as their backup plan. The next morning, I knew I had to confront them. "You two need to start looking for another place," I said, gently at first, almost apologetically. Linda blinked up at me from her coffee mug, and Arthur stopped what he was doing. "What do you mean?" Linda asked, her voice small. "I mean you can't stay here long term. You sold your house. You made a choice. This can't be your backup plan." The silence that followed was thick. Linda's face tightened, and Arthur's shoulders hardened. "We're your parents," Linda whispered. "Where else are we supposed to go?" Arthur added, "You're being dramatic." "No," I said, steady this time. "I'm setting a boundary." Arthur turned towards me, the screwdriver still in his hand. "We gave your brother a home because he needed help. You're fine. You've always been fine." There it was, the truth laid bare. My independence was never a strength to them. It was an excuse to use me. "You lied to me. You said you lost everything. You didn't. You gave everything to Jake. So no, you can't stay here." Linda's eyes welled up with tears, as if she could cry her way out of the situation. But the guilt that had weighed me down for so long didn't land this time. Arthur stood up slowly. "We're not leaving." "You are," I replied. "Today or tonight, but you're leaving." The air in the room turned heavy and sharp. I could feel a boundary that had been ignored for years snapping back into place. Arthur stepped closer. "Say that again." "No," I said simply. "You need to leave." And then he hit me. The shock was immediate, but so was the clarity. I knew that if I didn't stop this, it would only get worse. I straightened up, hand pressed to my cheek. "Get out of my house." Arthur's voice dropped low. "You don't talk to me like that." I didn't answer. I walked to the kitchen counter, picked up my phone, and dialed 911. Linda gasped. "Don't do this." "He didn't mean it." "He hit me in my own home," I said, staring at Arthur. When the dispatcher answered, my voice was steady. "Yes, I need officers at my address. I have 2 people refusing to leave my property." Arthur's jaw twitched, but he didn't move towards me. Linda started crying loudly, but it felt like another act. My neighbor, Mr. Thompson, knocked on the open door. "Is everything okay?" "No, but it will be," I said. When the officers arrived, the situation changed instantly. Arthur tried to argue, but he had no legal ground. Linda pleaded with them, wiping her tears, insisting they were victims.
But the officers looked at me.
"Do you want them removed from the property?"
"Yes, I do," I said.
Minutes later, they were gathering their suitcases, the same ones they'd brought with their false stories. As they walked out of my condo, escorted by law enforcement, I felt a sense of closure. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. In the days that followed, the silence in my home was different. It was cleaner, safer. But I knew there was more to come. 3 days later, I got a call from Jake's girlfriend, Sarah. Her voice was tight and frantic. "Gail, are your parents with you?"
"No, he can't do this."
"He can't just shut down like this," she said before the call dropped. 2 weeks later, my grandmother, Rose, called. Her voice was steady, but I could hear the underlying tension. "You need to come over. It's time you heard what's going on." When I arrived at Rose's house, she led me into the kitchen. Sunlight streamed through the window, and rolled up newspapers sat next to her coffee mug. "Your parents have been staying here," she said. I was shocked. "Here with you?" "They showed up the night after you called the police. They said they needed a place to think." I exhaled sharply. "And what have they been doing?" "Arguing," Rose said. "With each other, with Jake, with themselves. They're falling apart, Gail." She slid a newspaper towards me. The headline made my stomach turn. "Local man faces foreclosure after failed startup gamble." The details were unmistakable. Jake had mortgaged the house my parents bought him, almost all of it. The investment was gone, lost in a month due to reckless decisions. Rose reached across the table. Your parents thought they were helping him, but they didn't know how bad it was. They're facing the consequences now. I swallowed hard. What do they want from me? You're the only stable one.
They want you to fix it, she said.
Just then, a car door slammed outside. Rose's gaze shifted to the window. That'll be them. My parents walked in first, Linda's eyes red and Arthur's shoulders hunched. Then Jake stepped in, pale and defeated. They looked like a picture of collapse. Rose cleared her throat.
Seat. We all sat down.
Linda's voice trembled. Gail, we didn't come here to fight. We want to explain. Jake couldn't look at me. I folded my hands in my lap. Then explain. Linda started. We sold the house because Jake's startup needed a push. We thought it was an investment in his future. An investment you didn't even tell me about, I said. Arthur winced. We didn't think you'd understand. Didn't think I'd understand? Or didn't think I mattered? I repeated softly. Jake finally spoke. I messed up. I thought I had a good idea. I thought I could make you all proud. At what cost? I asked. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Arthur leaned forward. We know we hurt you. What happened in your condo should never have happened. I stared at him. You hit me. His face crumpled. I know. I was angry and embarrassed. Losing everything made me someone I'm not. Linda reached for my hand, but stopped halfway. We didn't come to ask you to fix anything. Rose told us the truth. You don't owe us your home, your life, or your forgiveness. The room fell silent. Rose spoke then, calm and firm. Family can make mistakes, big ones. But healing starts with owning the damage. Jake nodded, tears in his eyes. I'm trying. I'm looking for work. I'll pay back what I can. Linda whispered, we want to make things right, Gail, but we'll do it without dragging you down again. Arthur swallowed hard. If you let us, we'd like to earn your forgiveness, not demand it. The anger inside me loosened. It didn't disappear, but it loosened enough for me to breathe. I can't fix your choices, and I won't carry them anymore. But I'm willing to talk. Slowly, Linda broke into sobs, not desperate or manipulative, but relieved. Arthur nodded deeply, and Jake finally looked up at me, gratitude in his eyes. Rose smiled softly. Good. Then this is the real beginning. In the weeks that followed, things moved slowly. My parents stayed with Rose, learning to live with the consequences of their choices. Rose didn't coddle them. She guided them with tough love. Jake found a humble job and showed up every day. He called me once a week to tell me how he was doing and to apologize. As for me, my condo felt different. It was lighter, more grounded. I added a new lock and rearranged a few things, not out of fear, but out of reclaiming my space. Ryan checked in often, reminding me that boundaries were doors I controlled. One quiet Saturday, I visited Rose. My parents were in the yard, raking leaves together. They looked up when they saw me, not guilty or demanding, just hopeful. For the first time, I felt a glimmer of possibility. We're not a perfect family, maybe we never were, but we're finally an honest one. I've learned that forgiveness isn't about erasing the past. It's about refusing to carry someone else's mistakes on my back. My home is mine again, my peace is mine again, and we're rebuilding our future, one careful step at a time.